we will officially get started. So thank you everyone for coming. Today, this is a very, very rough, stressful times, not only COVID, but everything going on around us. And we are definitely praying for peace, and we hope that everybody is doing well, staying safe. And, you know, together, I think we can really need to also take care of ourselves. How are we feeling? What's going on around us? We can't necessarily control, but what we do inside can really help amplify how we're tolerating our stress responses and what might be going on internally. We do not want to, we want to be here to promote your wellness and to promote your support. And, you know, KEMA, for those of you who don't know, is a physical therapy and wellness center in Flatiron, New York City. We have a 9,000 square foot wellness space where we help treat the root cause of people's pain. And we are trying to always try to figure out the why. So it's not just about treating symptoms. Oh, my shoulder aches, I'm gonna just rub it out, right? It's, okay, why? What is it coming from the neck? Is it coming from your nerve? Is it coming from a rib? Is there something going on in your foot? You know, that it's just, you know, we wanna try to figure out why you're in pain. So that's what we're about. But along that journey, we also may need some assistance besides, you know, our job at KEMA is to get you to where you want to be. You want to get your tennis game better? We're here for you. You want to do, you know, get faster in your run or do a marathon or a 5K or just throw the ball to your kids. You know, we're here to help you do that. But sometimes we may need a couple of supplements. We may need a couple of breathing strategies. We may need to address some history, some things that are in your history. And so today we're going to be focusing on how we can support you through various vitamins, minerals. And what was really the catalyst for this free webinar today was because Orthomolecular was actually in the New York Post because there was a woman who had COVID, was in complete respiratory distress, and glutathione, her son, who was, I think, studying as a resident, you know, said, okay, you know, I have glutathione, I think it should work, and it really did. And she felt that she was, you know, could have been in a very, very bad place. And this glutathione supplement really saved her life. So it can be that powerful, right? And I'm a big proponent on nature, right? We get out in nature, it helps us. We're breathing in our biome. We're working out on the earth. It gives us electrical charge. It helps to wake up muscles. It helps to like boost our immune system. So many wonderful things in nature. So why choose a medication that may have a bunch of chemicals when you can choose something that's a supplement and more natural? So we're going to be talking about wonderful stuff. And again, for those of you who are joining in, please write any questions you may have in the chat box, which is on the bottom bar. And you are able to unmute yourselves if you need to, but everyone's coming in muted. I will take a constant look at that chat, and I'll also be fielding any questions or any issues you may have. Also, please put in that chat. So without further ado, I'm going to let Sam take over. And Sam is a wonderful supplement expert with Orthomolecular products. And I'm so excited to have you all hear his expertise and kind of see how we can address things for ourselves and our whole family, right? Amidst these kind of crazy times. So Sam, please introduce yourself and we'll get started now.
Great. Thank you so much for having me on, Patricia. You know, I'm excited to offer, you know, some insight on how supplements can have an impact during this crazy time. And, you know, now more than ever, it's becoming incredibly important to focus on building our metabolic reserve and the ability to handle these viral challenges. But we'll get into that. Just to introduce myself, my name is Sam. I'm the New York rep for Orthomolecular Products. A bit of background on our company. We've been around for 31 years, and we've been partnering with practitioners much like Patricia and practitioners who have a philosophy like the KEMA Wellness Center in addressing the root cause and taking a natural approach rather than, you know, a pharmaceutical approach that can lead to side effects and simply doesn't address that root cause. So I'm really excited to talk about a couple of supplement interventions that might have a positive impact on both our immune system and then a couple other topics that we're going to get into. But without further ado, I will get into the presentation. So as I alluded to, the first topic today is how to build our immune shields. So a lot of the functional medicine industry is starting to focus on foundational items and how to build that metabolic reserve. So our ability at a microscopic level to handle certain viral challenges and boost our immune systems in a proactive manner rather than reacting to a viral challenge and, you know, taking a supplement here and there. So in terms of building that shield, there's a driving force at the root of our immune systems and every cell in the body, and that's cellular energy. How are we going to handle a viral challenge when that's present is basically dependent on how our cells react, and specifically immune cells. So a damaged or diseased cell isn't going to be in a favorable position to handle a viral challenge. So what can we do to help support our cells at a metabolic level? So when we do face an issue like we currently are, what can we do to defend adequately? And this comes down to the engine behind our cells, and particularly our immune cells, which is our mitochondria. I'm sure you guys have all heard of this. I know Gail mentioned she teaches anatomy, so she's probably well versed in this area. But the mitochondria is responsible for converting food into energy or ATP within the cell. So if we are not adequately converting this into energy, we're going to be more prone to infection. This cycle of energy, it's positive, but it also produces some harmful free radicals as a byproduct, almost like a car produces exhaust. Our cellular energy cycle is going to produce some free radicals. So we also have to account for that when we're dealing with establishing that energy. So certain micronutrients are critical for this energy cycle and for our immune cells. And these are often insufficient because of a lack of nutrient-rich foods in our diet or dealing with stress. We deplete these nutrients fairly quickly, and they are needed for that cycle of energy to handle viral loads. So the first topic I'm going to mention today is something called mitochore. So mitochore covers that cycle of energy to better equip us. And it starts with those foundational nutrients that I mentioned. So this is your vitamin A, your zinc, your selenium, your magnesium, these critical micronutrients that are needed to establish the energy for our cells. When they are depleted, our cells aren't functioning optimally, and that can lead to infection. So we include all of those micronutrients, almost like a multivitamin, to help establish that cycle of energy. The second part of mitochore that's impactful is what's called our energy trio. And this is actually going to help convert the food we eat into energy within the cell. So we start with acetyl L-carnitine that basically shuttles free fatty acids into the cell and helps with that conversion of energy. This production is going to create those free radicals I mentioned. So what can we do to help clean those up and help with antioxidants? That's N-acetylcysteine, a pretty common supplement. It's actually used in hospitals as well. It's a precursor to glutathione, which Patricia mentioned at the top of the presentation. So it's going to help boost that master antioxidant within the body, which is critical for essentially cleaning up that exhaust, that those harmful free radicals. And last member of the trio is something called alpha lipoic acid, or what I like to call ALA. And that's going to recharge these antioxidants at a cellular level. So your vitamin C, your glutathione, your vitamin E, and that's going to help create these damaging reactive oxygen species and harmful free radicals at bay. And the final portion of MitoCore is probably some ingredients that you recognize: green tea extract, broccoli seed extract, and resveratrol found in grapes. So these promote NRF2, which is a key regulator of our antioxidant response. So that's going to protect the mitochondria to help optimize cellular energy and how we respond to infection. So that's MitoCore, just more of a foundational item that's going to build your metabolic resilience. So when the time of a viral challenge is present, like what we're going through today, your body is more equipped to handle that properly.
Yeah, and Sam, you would say that, MitoCore might be a bit more focused as almost instead of a multivitamin. It's going to help to improve your mitochondrial support, help to really up the glutathione, which, that will help you fight off and boost your immune system. But for those of you who don't know, those who are taking Tylenol, if you were feverish or you had something going on, Tylenol is going to suppress your glutathione production. So we need to be able to improve our glutathione production. And that's one of the things that I think is quite interesting also for those that are moms on the call, giving their children a lot of Tylenol to fight a fever. You're actually reducing their chances of fighting that off. You're kind of suppressing a little bit of that glutathione production, which suppresses the body's ability to detoxify that particular viral load or bacterial load or whatnot. So the fact that this product helps to boost it is fantastic. And also taking glutathione would be very, very helpful as well. Right, Sam?
Correct.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And this product pairs really well with our glutathione because, as you mentioned, it's going to help upregulate glutathione and increase production. So they almost have a synergistic effect. But glutathione levels are critical. It's our body's master antioxidant. So to have adequate levels of glutathione is going to go a long way. And that's why the New York Post article, it highlighted how big of an impact that had on the mother of that medical school student. So I couldn't agree more. Again, it pairs well with glutathione directly. Another a way to build our immune shield is, I'm sure everyone on this call has heard of this, it's a probiotic. And the reason it's a key player in our immune health is because it directly influences our immune systems, which is, a surprising fact to a lot of people. Basically, within our GI tract, within our digestive system, it's the highest density of immune cells. Obviously we can't ignore our gut microbiome in relation to our immune system. And in fact, there's a lot of research out there regarding this. In fact, there's a meta-analysis of 12 human clinical trials that showed probiotics were much better than placebo in dealing with reducing the number of upper respiratory tract infections. So it's reducing the chance of an infection. So it's critical to have a good balance of good bacteria to prevent that, viral infection. The one that we carry is something called Orthobiotic. So Orthobiotic, the reason it's different than your typical product that you can find, let's say in CVS, is because there's 7 different probiotic strains within it. And they're all researched to survive the GI tract. It's a very treacherous environment. It's not made to have bacteria survive. So Orthobiotic is actually designed to hold the bacteria intact in the capsule until it reaches an area within the GI tract where it can have the biggest impact. and influence our immune systems and a number of other things, digestion, absorption. And another key differentiator, it's got something called Saccharomyces boulardii. This basically binds to harmful bacteria within the GI tract and crowds them out. So this basically boxes out the bad bacteria to make room for the good bacteria, the 7 strains featured in the formula, to do their thing and have a positive effect. So in terms of foundational items to support our immune system, VitaCore and Orthobiotic are going to cover a lot of different things with the functionality of our immune cells.
Yeah, definitely giving us our Captain America shield there,
Exactly.
which I love. You know, I think ultimately there's definitely some just to kind of actually answer a question and also go on this, the SAC-B or Saccharomyces boulardii is basically from yeast. So it's a positive yeast, you know, strain, and can also help to restore better balance of the yeast and the bacteria, right? So when we have kind of an overgrowth of yeast in the gut, whether I had a bacterial infection in the past that then allowed for that, I had too many antibiotics or whatever, that balance kind of gets lost. So the SAC-B is actually a yeast-based probiotic that can help to, again, as Sam said, you know, kind of keep the, you know, provide more of a home to the good bacteria and not let the bad bacteria flourish and can block them out. So some people who, for some reason, cannot be taking, you know, let's say probiotics or have been on a slew of antibiotics and are sensitive, Saccharomyces boulardii is often the best thing to do. And you can get that separately, just as a SAC-B, you know, by itself, as you transition back and then slowly bring in orthobiotic as you're ready to flourish the gut completely. So, you know, SAC-B has been definitely very helpful in my patients that have felt that either they're sensitive or they had a bacterial infection, they want to slowly kind of ease in. I would say SAC-B would be number 1, and then kind of slowly layering in. But, you know, a lot of us, you know, have been in quarantine for many, many weeks. I think we're at like 75 days or something since most of the city shut down. And, you know, we may be eating better, right? Maybe. We might also be listening to the news and being in fear mode and just kind of like going for comfort food. And so we may not be, let's say, kind of nourishing ourselves as well as we could be. And a lot of my patients actually have reached out to me because they're like, you know what, I just need a reset right now. I have not been doing the right thing. I've been on Zoom calls with my girlfriends and drinking wine, or I've been, you know, just kind of noticing that my husband and I are picking up a couple of beers. You know, you know, there's just different people are going to different things. And I think it's really important that we keep our internal system clean, kind of like a spring cleaning, right? And so what can you help us when we want to maybe detox or, you know, kind of change things around and maybe give ourselves a reset button?
I couldn't agree more in terms of the quarantine lifestyle. My fiance and I didn't know this was possible, but apparently you can get alcohol delivered from the store, and we placed an order and it was delivered within 10 minutes. So that, you know, that's just a coping mechanism that people reach for, and then a food as well. It's as Patricia alluded to, it's comfort, and especially when we're at home all day. You know, we're around these snacks. I can look up now. I see some popcorners, and it's easy to reach for them just to, you know, feel something different throughout the day. And when it's around, ever present, it can be difficult to avoid. So coming out of quarantine, what can we do to reset? As Patricia mentioned, you know, a detox program, just to reset on a metabolic level. And there's, you know, reasons why detox plans often fail. You know, it's pretty daunting to look at a detox program and, try and compile a list of foods that are appropriate for the detox, what you can't have, what you can have. Go shop for those ingredients, go to the grocery store, and then plan recipes. So that can deter a lot of people from even beginning a detox program to begin with. People also have the mindset that because I'm doing a detox program, I have to starve, I have to eat food that I don't like. But if there's proper planning involved, you can avoid some of those pitfalls and even be inspired to, make new recipes and try different foods. So it can garner some excitement and create some excitement to begin a program to begin with. And then the second pitfall of detox programs, if anyone on this call, I'm sure if you've done a detox program before, you might have felt lousy at some point, sluggish, almost under the weather. And the reason for that is most detox programs begin with basically mobilizing these fat-soluble toxins, without having your body ready to get rid of them and excrete them. So how can we avoid that and avoid that feeling of lousiness? We start in our program with something called phase 2 liver detox. And it's a fancy way for saying, we're going to prime your body to be able to excrete these toxins before we mobilize them. We're gonna get you ready to get rid of these toxins so they're not camping out in your bloodstream and you don't have that, fluey feeling, that sluggish feeling that often comes with the detox program. So we're setting you up for success to begin with. And then the planning, we provide a book of recipes and approved ingredients to help ease the planning of the program. So you can follow the list of, all right, I want to do this recipe on Monday. We actually have a meal plan laid out for you. So you can basically, take the pressure off yourself from executing a perfect detox program. So just some guides to help you get through it. And, just a little bit, to summarize the program, it's going to help detoxify both your liver and your GI tract to help revitalize your detox process, the way your body can naturally detoxify going forward. So it's going to have a returning effect on the investment. So just one way to, come out of quarantine, with a fresh slate. And maybe you guys have been eating cleanly, but I know, from my own experience, it's been easier, to reach for suboptimal options during this time.
Absolutely. And I can attest to the Core Restore because our whole office does it every spring. And we challenge each other, and it's like a whole team building activity, and we love it. And the first time I did it, I have to say it was such a drastic change. It was like midnight, and I'm normally like spent. I have 3 kids at home. I'm balancing work and kids and this and that. And I'm normally spent by 10 p.m. because I'm up at 6. So it's like, ugh. But I was going till 12 and I'm like, what time is it? Like this energy was just in me, and I'm not talking about coffee, like none of that. It was all just because I was literally cleaning out and making my body fresh. It was much more optimal. I had a steady state of energy. So even though I wasn't eating that much, and I might be thin, but I don't do well if I don't eat. And I felt good. I felt sustained. And I also felt like surprisingly energetic. And, we've heard these stories from a lot of our patients as well as our staff that have successfully gone through it. They always feel better after. And I would suggest if anyone has gone through any sort of like digestive bug or some sort of period of time where you were not eating so well or kind of doing more of the alcohol thing and that it's been a little bit more than normal, this would be something to just kind of restore that balance, because really that really can eat away at your system. And maybe it's not today, maybe it's not next month, but within the next 6 months, something may happen. And so we want to make sure that we're getting ready, for what we what we have ahead, right, into fall and winter. But another topic we want to kind of transition into here is just stress, right? So we have been a little bit more stressed. Definitely if you're in New York City, this week has been quite stressful, and weekend. People are really scared for their safety. There's been vandalism and rioting, and also just their businesses just to, you know, there's been a lot of shattered glass, let's say that, and a bunch of fires. And so, you know, there is a particularly stressful week, but this whole time, these unprecedented times have brought more stress. Then you might be working from home. That gives you a new challenge. Then you got to balance more of life and work, and you know, the kid running in while you're on a Zoom call, you know, whatever, or the dog barking. And so we're going to try to find that, you know, well, are there things that can help us with that? Of course, we're proponents of meditating or praying, and actually getting out in nature and exercising can really help to clear your mind and get the stress gone, or at least more balanced. You know, centering yourself, doing a gratitude practice, all of these things are quite important. But sometimes on the inside, we may need some things to kind of like just help us boost. So Sam, what can you tell us about how we can help our stress and our kind of mental state?
Sure. Yeah, and I can attest to the difference of my fiance and I going to Central Park for a couple hours, you know, and breathing in some fresh air and just being out in nature versus staying cooped up in our apartment all day is pretty substantial for dealing with stress. But you know, if that's not an option for you, or if you're looking for added support, we have a couple products just to help alleviate some of that stress and basically our body's response to stress. So the first product kind of deals with the phase one of stress, which is the alarm phase. So this is your typical New York lifestyle. You're, you know, on the go all the time. You know, work is pretty demanding. As Patricia mentioned, you know, dealing with working at home for the first time and balancing your family life and your work life. And these are all new stressors. So if you're starting to feel a bit overwhelmed, you might be in the alarm phase. So this is when your body responds by releasing your stress hormone, cortisol, into the blood, as well as producing epinephrine, just to deal with this new stress. And over time, if this is left unchecked for a long period of time, this can lead to a reduced immune system in terms of functionality. It can lead to anxiety, trouble sleeping, weight gain. So what can we do to help support our response to these new stressors? We have a product called New Adapt. So it's designed for that phase one of stress. You know, you have this elevated stress hormone in your system, cortisol, and you're, you know, feeling anxious. So we help basically your body's response to that cortisol with something called phosphatidylserine. Fun to say, a bit of a tongue twister. But it's proven to decrease the release of cortisol, so you're better equipped to handle that stress. Also includes some adaptogens, which anecdotally are proven to help withstand the strain of stress and build that resilience in your response to stress. L-theanine, which is found in green tea, but that's great for increasing alpha brainwave activity within the brain and promoting a sense of calmness. So when you are exposed to stress, much like this week, you're not overwhelmed. And finally, what goes with stress? You know, cognitive decline. You know, a stressed brain is not going to function properly. You're not going to necessarily have your best focus or memory. So we include Bacopa, which is actually called a nootropic. So that's going to help with memory, cognitive function. A group of medical school students actually tried this nootropic out during final exams, and then their improvements in recognition, recall, and focus improved pretty substantially. So just something for that first initial phase of stress if you do feel anxious. Like I said, if it's left unchecked for a long period of time, it eventually leads to burnout. And this is called the exhaustion phase. So essentially you were burning the candle at both ends for so long, it was left unchecked, and your body's stress response just crashed. So you actually have trouble now producing adequate amounts of cortisol. So how are we going to optimize that production to help get you out of bed in the morning? This, if you're, chronically fatigued, lacking energy, depressed, if you have hormonal imbalances, sometimes that could be a stress issue above all else. So how do we cope with this exhaustion phase? We have a product called True Adapt. So this is going to help produce adequate amounts of cortisol within your bloodstream with licorice root extract. So that's going to help give you the motivation to start your day and basically become more resilient to stress. The adaptogens I just alluded to. And then finally, holy basil, which is another nootropic, so to speak. So that's going to not only support your resilience in your response to stress, it's going to promote healthy immune function and help with attention span as well. So those are just two options. If you're doing everything right, if you're, getting out in nature, doing the breathing exercises, etc., and you feel like there might be a missing piece, or if you don't have access to those other options, this could just add that support to help with your stress response.
And in general, I'm always coming at it from an anti-inflammatory perspective, and ashwagandha is one of the top things to help. This is kind of where, let's say, frankincense oil comes from, and that sort of family. And so you're looking for reduction in inflammation. It helps you handle stress better in the body and kind of be more resilient with the cortisol stress response, but also, licorice root helps to kind of calm the intestinal tract, basically the esophagus when you're getting GERD, right? So all of these things kind of help a couple of different other things as well. So you may feel like, I'm feeling less, let's say, heartburn, or I'm feeling less inflamed. And while this wonderful formula helps because it's addressing a few things specifically for the stress response, it's also quite anti-inflammatory. So I find my patients are, really happy with that because they're noticing that things feel calmer on the inside. And, I would say, you kind of you try one bottle, you don't need a bunch, and then, kind of see, right? If this isn't something that you need like all the time, it's just like a nice little booster, and then you kind of see where you're at. And if you feel like you need more, fine. But most of the time it's kind of like, oh yeah, that just like helped me reset a bit. And now I feel more like I can go deeper into my meditation. I could go into that zone and I don't feel like I'm, kind of underwater, that I'm so inflamed or so stressed. So I think it just provides for kind of taking away a little bit of the pileup that we brush under the rug, kind of bring it back down to normal so that then the things that you normally do work better. And hopefully that's enough, so, some of these products are really nice little booster shots to kind of like boost you into the next level. So you feel much better and you let your body's innate wisdom kind of take over. Right. So lastly, at Kima, we're getting people back to doing what they love. And now it's June and, it's going into summertime and, I happen to have a subspecialty in tennis. So, a lot of people are out there, we're allowed to be on the tennis court, kind of go in and, but you coming from a quarantine state where maybe you weren't doing the same exact workout you were doing before, or you may not have been as active as you would have liked. Hopefully that's not the case. But if it was, you may need a little extra, feel it. We are in the office still seeing patients, as I said at the top of the hour, and we're also doing telehealth. And a lot of people, we're even having new patients call in because of little strains, or they actually fractured something and, they don't want to go into the hospital. They're seeing somebody, in a different facility, having that stabilized, and now they're coming out of their cast and they don't know what to do. Or they have been having these like aches and pains, and now they're trying to get active again, and there's just a really tough transition back. So there are specific things that our patients that are in recovery from an injury do amazing on, but also those people that are transitioning from maybe not being as active as they once were, maybe they are not in a very good kind of balanced state muscularly, and that could put some extra strain through ligaments, it could put some extra strain through muscle tissue. So we can do things from collagen and all these wonderful kind of nutrients to kind of feed those connections, feed the ligaments, feed the muscles, the tendons, and reduce the inflammation at the musculoskeletal level, really kind of amplify bone health and things like that. So Sam, tell us a couple of things about how we can really amplify recovery in our actual musculoskeletal system as well.
Yeah, so you know, it's about taking a proactive approach. Myself, I haven't been to the gym in months, clearly. So a home exercise, a home routine isn't necessarily going to be quite as demanding. So when we jump back into things, as Patricia mentioned, training like we used to, we're not going to respond the same way we did when we were, in a consistent routine. So how do we optimize our recovery? Just planning for it, so we're not exposed to, the muscle soreness or the joint tenderness. We have a couple of products that you've most likely heard of before. The first is a turmeric supplement. I'm sure we've all heard of this. It's actually the #1 selling botanical in the world on a global scale. The reason for that is the ability for turmeric to interact with our metabolic system to block reduce the signaling of inflammatory markers within our blood. So we're reducing the body's ability to produce inflammation. But the type of turmeric that you use is going to have a huge difference in the effectiveness. A lot of turmeric products isolate one single compound, like curcumin, which is almost like a pharmaceutical approach. Let's take one compound that works and let's just, try to optimize the absorption of it, etc. But sometimes, a product, a plant root, as nature intended, is going to be more effective. So with Tariva, our turmeric product, this is actually our newest product. It's a complete turmeric matrix. So rather than taking out the curcumin and isolating that, we have the root as nature intended, and it's proven to be a bit more effective. We actually have a clinical trial over the course of 3 months, and it showed a substantial reduction, 85% reduction in joint tenderness, and 88% reduction in joint swelling at the end of 3 months, compared to a placebo, which actually had a negative effect and increased immune markers within the blood. So just having a tremendous impact on those inflammatory markers. And then Patricia actually mentioned it, collagen, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. It's actually, found in bones, tendons, ligaments, hair, muscles. So it's important that we have adequate amounts. And type 1 and type 2 collagen actually make up 90% of our body's collagen production. So over time, those two decrease. And when they decrease, you might experience some joint discomfort, some soft tissue discomfort. So how do we optimize our type 1 and type 2 production? We have to include some cofactors. Collagen production is dependent on other nutrients, vitamins, minerals, like magnesium, vitamin C, hyaluronic acid. So these cofactors are necessary to optimize our collagen production. And when we have a lack of these cofactors, we're not going to have an optimized collagen amount in our body. So with collagen, if you go to the grocery store, you see products that have 25, 30 grams of collagen, and you think to yourself, oh, that's awesome. That's more than this product, so that's clearly the best. That's actually not always the case. So with collagen, if you have an excess amount you actually create oxalates within the body. So higher dose collagen products aren't necessarily a good thing. It's more about the size of the molecule. So we use something called bioactive collagen peptides. So these are actually shorter in length and they have a lower molecular weight. What this means is it's going to increase absorption, transportation, and accumulation within the body. So it's not just, okay, let me go to Whole Foods and pick up collagen supplement X. You really want to look under the hood and see, what form of collagen it is. Is it just type 3 or is it type 1 and 2? And is it the peptides that I mentioned? So between the turmeric product, Arteriva, and collagen, it's just going to help optimize your recovery. So you're not, feeling this joint tenderness and this joint pain once you get back into the swing of things.
And I'm going to say one other thing about collagen. So after injury, we may have, some form of a disruption in the collagen around the muscle tissue, and it, repairs. And sometimes it repairs pretty well and pretty densely. But if you have a certain genetic predisposition to not having a lot of collagen in your body or not having really dense collagen, you're the one that's going to be like, it's taking forever for this injury to, heal. Now, while there's still not enough true studies, what we do know is that it takes 18 months, up to 18 months for collagen to mature. And if in those 18 months, you don't put the right specific load through, like we would, let's say, guide you to do in physical therapy, but if you're not putting enough of that pressure through to kind of guide the collagen, but you also don't have that innate response where you have that type of collagen that's like innate in your body, you will have just a poorer response. Yeah. And so this would be an example, a woman that might have stretched apart the abdominal seam and has diastasis recti after pregnancy. Right? So we get this stretching. Normally, you have your collagen that just kind of brings it back together, but some women don't have that as well, and so it kind of just stays a little bit more stretched. Taking a collagen supplement can help. I had a patient recently that was in a significant amount of pain because she was trying to do some online kind of thing to keep herself working out, and then she strained herself, and she is a postpartum mom, and she, is very well aware of her body, and she's like, something's not right. I look 4 months pregnant. And I said, look, I'm looking at the way that things are kind of healing, and it's not necessarily stiffening up. Let's try this, as long as you clear it with your doctor. Let's try this. And in conjunction with the exercise program we're putting her on, as well as the collagen supplement, she is completely different in 6 weeks. And not only feels stronger, also looks better. So it actually helps you to have that aesthetic, kind of more toned and tightness in the body. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't see that there would be any issue to amplify your collagen. If you're one of those people that feels that they have that loose skin, that would be the person that doesn't have that genetic, like, strong collagen in their body. And again, it's, the genes that mom and pop like sent over, passed along. Like sometimes we're just, don't have that. But this can really help to make a difference. But some people see it as early as a few weeks, and other people need, into 6 months, and in extreme cases, I would say you would want 18 months. But they're, again, alongside a physical therapy program or a specific exercise program, you should be able to see a significant difference, a real positive impact pretty easily. So we have a question. I'm going to open it up to the group, and thank you so much for, I've put a few things in the chat as well. So the question was kind of a histamine response. Yeah. I don't know if Sam, you can talk to this, but to speak to this, but basically, eating well, and there's just been a little bit of an increased histamine response and sensitivity when having food. And so, already been on a low histamine diet, but is there a supplement that can help with this histamine response? I do know that, when we're in the presence of increased stress, we can maybe have a little bit of an increase in histamine, and obviously if you're sensitive and allergic as well. But is there something specific, Sam, that you can speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can eat cleanly, but certain foods produce histamine. Certain foods, just have that effect, even if in theory you're taking it because it's clean. So what can we do to combat that? We have a product, D-Hist. The main ingredient that handles that histamine aspect is called quercetin. So quercetin actually works upstream. So it basically stabilizes your mast cell so it doesn't dephosphorylate, and that releases the histamine as well as 29 other preformed mediators. So if we can stabilize that mast cell, we're going to prevent that histamine release. So quercetin is a big component of that. Basically, it interferes with the signaling that has calcium dephosphorylate the cell, to get super scientific, but that's going to help stabilize that to prevent the histamine release. So that would be something I recommend. In terms of the seasonality, I actually have a pollen tracker on my phone. And if you look at it right now, it's medium to high every single day during this time of year. So quercetin actually helps with the histamine production from pollen or pet dander, things of that nature as well. And it does include that N-acetylcysteine I mentioned before, which kind of thins out mucus. So if you're having an overproduction of mucus, it's got a benefit there as well. But yeah, natural D-Hist, because of the quercetin, is a game changer for histamine.
Awesome. That's great to know. There was another question about kind of using turmeric root in your food as opposed to the supplement. Again, the discussion being that obviously we want to get our nutrients from our food, but it's my understanding that especially if you are on an increased inflammatory state, it may not be enough to be in that kind of almost get you to that place of medicinal effect. So can you kind of talk to why we would want to take a supplement as opposed to, boiling the turmeric root and drinking it in a tea, let's say? I mean, I love my golden milks, and all of those wonderful things. But what would you say to that, Sam?
Yeah,
and please feel free to keep the questions coming in the chat.
So yeah, I love golden milk lattes as well. I make one at home here with honey and nut milk, and it's phenomenal. But like you were alluding to, if you have these issues, sometimes you need nutraceutical intervention just to have that medical grade effect. And the difference, so if you're using the spiced turmeric, over time, let's say you use it every day, it's going to have a great effect on your inflammatory levels. But the consistency of it from serving to serving isn't as concentrated or consistent, so to speak. So if you have the complete turmeric matrix in the root, the complete root as nature intended, so we isolate the compounds and then basically bring them back together as a complete form. So it's standardized to be consistent from batch to batch. So every capsule you take is going to have the same amount. Whereas if you're cooking with the spice, it's going to have that positive effect, but it might not have the consistent potency that you might have from an actual standardized supplement that's designed to be that amount within the capsule. But yeah, if you are having those challenges, even using the spiced turmeric you might need more of a medical grade potency. So that's where nutraceutical intervention or taking a supplement would be more beneficial.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions or anything to add? We're kind of coming along on our time here, so I want to be mindful of everyone. We're all quite busy, but if there's anybody that has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Any additions? I've put up here, just you can email me, that's my email address. We can answer questions after this presentation, but also if you wanted to, if you're interested in a few of the products or want more help, I mean, you know, we're here to just support you, you know, and one last thing is, you know, just letting you guys know that we are continuing to provide telehealth if you do need any help physically, or we're in the office 5 days a week as well. But yeah, we love kind of being able to discuss how can we support each other and how can we reduce the inflammatory state in our body so that it really does have its innate wisdom take over. Nothing is blocking it, you know, whether that's how I'm going to decide to do a core restore. I had a patient that I just saw 2 weeks ago, and she's like, I'm telling my friend and we're doing it together. You know, she's like, we'll get on a Zoom and we're doing the core restore, and they're feeling so much better and also feeling less stressed. Or maybe it's, I just need a little turmeric, or maybe that glutathione can really help to be protective. So that if I do go out again, I'm going back to work soon or whatever you're taking. I've been taking a whole bunch of supplements consistently this whole time. And I can't tell you how much better I feel, but also I have not gotten even a sniffle throughout this whole experience since March. Granted, I'm taking way more than I normally would. I'm feeling better, and so is my family. We haven't gotten any sort of sickness or cold, and we've been outside and doing things. And of course, like I said, I've been in the city, of course, with masks and things, but still. So if we don't have any questions, that thank you so much, Sam, for being here. Oh, I have one question about customizing supplements. I mean, you know, there's a way for you, there are certain, I think, we're not covering all the products here, and obviously some people may have their, I love this probiotic and that's the one I love, and that's great. You know, we're not here to, you know, just kind of change a program, especially if your medical doctor or your health coach has told you these are the things that they want you to tell. But if you're just going to GNC or you're going to Amazon, you may not get the quality that you're looking for. They might have had it sitting in a cellar that was like 300 degrees. You know, like you don't know what the potency is at that point. They're just second hand or third hand, and that could be dangerous. Or you can say, yeah, I tried it, it did nothing. You know, I had a patient actually call me from Texas. I had treated his wife when she was in the city, and he's been dealing with some musculoskeletal issues, and he wanted to know what supplements I would recommend. And he said, you know, I've heard great things about, you know, this, it was basically the soft tissue support pack from Orthomolecular. And I said, yeah, we sell it. And he goes, well, I tried it and it did nothing. And I said, really? Where'd you get it? And he's like, Amazon. I said, okay, I'm going to give you a steep discount. Just try ours and tell me what you think. And it was completely different. So, you know, I would rather you not have expensive urine, right? Because you're just peeing it out, you know? So we want it to be absorbed. We want you to get the positive effects of these kinds of wonderful supplements. And Orthomolecular is a very clean company and is at the, I mean, I know that they've been #1 for years. I don't know about this year in terms of when they tell you that it is vitamin C, 1,000 milligrams, you're getting 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. The potency has been tested over and over again, and they have been at the top of the list, literally #1 on potency and cleanliness. So that's one of the reasons why we partner with Orthomolecular, and there's plenty of other products that we love as well. But I think you may, if you're looking for customization, you may need to work with a health coach or a doctor to see exactly what you may need. There's also a wonderful test stool kit called Viome, V-I-O-M-E, and they are, they kind of give you a whole analysis of what is your microbiome like, what bacteria and fungi do you actually have in there, and then what foods are right for you based on your composition to actually digest more easily, to feel better. So that I'll put in here as well, so everyone can see it. And they're offering for any chemo patients, this is something that we do at Chemo Wellness, but you know, this is open to all. They offer a 10% discount to all chemo patients, which we're very grateful for. So I would say that individualizing things is going to be more challenging. However, there are certain products that have different potency, right? Like, you know, zinc this and, you know, this much, or vitamin C that much, or, you know, whatever. So there are definitely different potencies that you might find, and you can look at orthomolecularproducts.com for more information on that. You know, again, you would want to clear everything with your medical doctor. You know, we can suggest and kind of basically give you some information about products, but we are not medical practitioners that are actually providing some formulation, kind of acting like a, you know, a supplement store that kind of lets you know about a few things that have been very, very helpful. So if you have any questions, please, please, please reach out, email me. We're glad to help. Sam can chime in as well. And like I said, everybody on the call gets 10% discount on anything you may want to try, and we will ship it directly to you. They're actually, you know, unless it's back ordered, you'll get it pretty swiftly. So thank you all for being on the call, and we look forward to continuing with our free webinar series, we look forward to continuing to support you along these kind of unprecedented times. So thank you all for being here, and have a wonderful, wonderful day and weekend. And to all the fathers going, you know, or mothers or wives of fathers, I would say, you know, we will also be promoting MitoCore for Father's Day and extending a discount then as well. So that'll be fun for our dads. It's probably the #1 thing. You know, we host men's health workshops every November from Movember, and I've interviewed clinician upon clinician, and all they have to say is that they love to promote MitoCore for overall even men's health specifically. So we definitely will continue that promotion as well. So thanks everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day, weekend, and thanks for being here. Stay well.